Everyone wants the results of the system, but no one wants the commitment. 2 programs, 2 levels, 1 system, and this month,
everything starts.
Welcome to 3/2 Hoops. I'm Coach Jessica DeLipa.
I'm Coach Bob Belf, and we would like to introduce you to the system.
Welcome back to 3/2 Hoops.
Coach, how are you doing?
Can't complain. It was a fun week.
We've had a very interesting week, haven't we?
We have.
Well, Coach is, as my assistant, is trying to balance right now high school, which started tryouts this week, and then we had 2 games Monday and Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so we got her pretty tired this week. I'm not sure she slept. Just to balance where we are, just to catch you up, we got our first win this week, which was very interesting as to how well we played because we finally had a home game. And we had a different energy at home than we have had on the road, which is kind of normal, I understand, but at the same time, it was great to watch us do something. And we didn't get to do the system as much as we would have liked in the game because we pretty much destroyed the other team as to what we were doing and how well we did it. But in that sense, we were very pleased on some of those things that we did. It was progression again. We are improving, and now we have to come back and play this week against another nationally ranked team. So we're going to learn if we have gone anywhere with our program. But now you started tryouts and you had scrimmages.
Yep, that's right. Pleased with our scrimmages. In a matter of 2 days, we played 5 scrimmages, which I will say, running the system, I would not recommend that portion. The girls were very sore the next 2 days, but I'm pleased with kind of where we're at with it. I think they figured out pace was important. They figured out when they are on the floor for way too long. That's for sure. They figured that one out quick. But other than that, I mean, we haven't had many days with Thanksgiving there. We had, I believe, 3 practices before we went into scrimmaging, which was tough, but I'm pleased with where we're at right now.
It's funny because at college level, we'll do weeks and you do days before you start. I have watched them participate in some of that, and I'm very pleased with how well they're adapting and accepting of what you're doing. That's been really cool to watch. I like their aggressiveness. You still have the handful, as do I, of the hesitators, the ones that don't want to totally engage. They're really worried about getting embarrassed. But the other ones have really taken to it. And when you guys press with the right people on the floor, you've been devastating, which is pretty cool. So it's going to be very interesting to watch how well in high school that's going to work. I think Coach and I have been discussing this a little bit, that obviously teams are going to finally game plan against what you're doing, and they'll do that before you totally get what you're doing, and that's a frustration point. I think this team that we're playing next, last year when we played them, absolutely dissected us in their press break. They knew what we were doing better than we did at the point we played them. This is a little deeper in the season for us to play them, so it'll be cool to see how well we adjust and go through that. But overall, I think both squads are enjoying it. They're excited about it. There's enthusiasm there within your team deeper than I've seen, and it's going to be very interesting to watch your club play, and as well as if we keep improving where we can go.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited about it.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, today's episode, we are talking about what the system is not. So, Coach Belf, what would you start with?
I think that as we talk about the system, as you talk to people as to what it is, sometimes it's almost easier to tell them what it is not to explain what it is. So I think that was something we wanted to make sure we just talked about today. There are plenty of areas that we can go into in a lot of depth. I wrote a book about this, and I think there's a lot of people have written books that about the system itself that address these things. But I think right off the top, coaches, in everything we do as a coach, as we go through all this, is we're control freaks. We want to control every aspect of the game, even aspects that we can't control. It is not about coaches' control. This is about giving your players maximum control. And that is a very, very challenging thing to do, especially when you go to the lower levels, let's say to a high school or even junior high. That is, those kids, they're kids. And I'm sure they deserve control. I watch my kids. I still have 2 kids on my team that don't have driver's licenses. So when you're talking about giving control to adolescents, that's a very challenging thing. But I do think that within the scope of what we're doing, you have to allow them to play. You have to allow them to make decisions. You have to allow them to make mistakes. And that's when all of a sudden the system will start taking hold.
And I will say, being a younger coach, you mentioned your age last time. I'm 34 years old, so a little bit younger, just a little. But it's hard for me, being recently a player, only 5 years ago, and now, having to coach my players that I can tell they're not fully there yet where they need to be. I think at the college level, it's, I would say, maybe a little bit easier to give some control, because you should hypothetically have better athletes, better basketball IQ if high school coaches are doing the right thing.
We'd like to believe that. I think that, obviously every kid is a little different in how well they accept that freedom. Some of them go crazy with it. Some of them really excel with it. But considering what we're trying to accomplish here, the ability for them to make decisions and to put them in those situations as much as you can, to spread the basketball and to move the things where you want, that control is very important. Or for us to we get rid of it, is what I'm trying to say, and let them make those decisions. I will say that we wanted to talk about this just a little bit too. If this is a consideration, if this is something that you really believe that you want to do, you got to start some places to make sure that this is going to work and you have the support base that you're looking for. I think the first place you go is to your significant other. I think you go to your family and you explain to them what you want to do, why you want to do it, and get their blessing. They're the ones that are sitting in the stands next to all those parents who are complaining about everything that you're doing, and when all of a sudden you became a total idiot, and they will tell you that is very clearly that you're an idiot. But they have to listen to that, and they have to be the ones, because they can't defend you. They can't say anything about it, and they can't just go off and sit in the corner of the gym because you're an idiot that's still loud. I think the next place you got to go is you got to get your administrator on board. Administrators from the top down, what they don't want is problems. They don't want people coming in their office. They don't want anything like, I can't stand this, or I don't like this, or I don't, and they will jump responsibility to get to the athletic director to tell them how much they hate this or how much they don't like this. And they have to be understanding and supportive and understanding why you're doing it. If they don't, they will agree with the people coming in, because they'll just be result based. And that's important.
I will say I'm very lucky. My athletic director heard of the system before, is very familiar with it. He's a little bit of a basketball junkie. So he already asked me a year ago if I was planning to run it. But I think it's funny that if I'm running traditional basketball, I don't tell people what I'm doing, and it's nobody's business. So why, in system sense, do I have to do that? Because
it's different, Coach. It's out there. It's bizarre to everybody, and everybody knows basketball, and they'll tell their kid at halftime. Trust me. I have a situation where my athletic director played for me in high school, and she hired me on the premise that she wanted me to run it. So when I sat down the interview, that was the first question: was, you are running this, right? And so right away, you have that support base there. That's encouraging. The next place to go, and maybe a little less for college and maybe more so for high school, is parents. Parents don't understand. They don't get it. They only coach their kid. They don't coach your team. They don't care about whatever. All they're concerned about is little Susie becoming the next Michael Jordan. And they are a little worried about how this is going to affect her. I think it's a little challenging at high school that you send them home to eat dinner every night, and then they get retrained. So when you come back, you got to start over, and you got to start over, and you got to start. I don't have quite that issue at the high school. I mean, to the college level that you do at the high school. But I think when the parents have an understanding that you are doing what is best for your team and what you're doing is best for their kid, they tend to be much more supportive about it. If they think this is hindering what you're doing, that's a problem. I think results early can skew this a little bit. Things are not going to go well when you start. I know Coach here has got a very nice basketball team, but things are still not going to go well for you when you start. She has a very difficult schedule when she starts the season off, and she could be standing with a losing record at Christmas, and yet it's going to challenge your fortitude and your desire to keep doing this because you can see the end of the tunnel that others can't. I think sometimes it's too, like I've seen at the college level, some people have tried this and then turn around and overschedule and then just get destroyed and then act like the system was the reason they got beat by 60. You were going to lose that game by 60 anyway. You played the number one team in the state. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily equate, but that's how parents look at it, is that's the problem. Now, if my daughter is number 9 on your roster, number 10, and all of a sudden I see her playing time go up, I see her contributions go up, and she's involved, I don't have a problem with this. I think it's great. But when all of a sudden playing time tends to be subtracted from some of your better players, they don't understand that. And they're concerned about, she's supposed to play 32 minutes. How is she supposed to get that scholarship to Tennessee?
Right.
She wasn't going to Tennessee anyway, just I tell you.
So speaking of other things that the system is not, so we've talked about coaches wanting control. I think the other misconception, because within the books that are out there currently, I think the big thing that everyone who is kind of running it is doing more of a dribble drive. Is dribble drive part of the system? I should say the Grinnell system.
It's kind of a touchy subject for some of us. I think one of the things that coaches look at is they're trying to reach their goal numbers and the system goal numbers out there and feel that they can do it in certain ways. I don't know if I have any issue overall with dribble drive because I think that some of the concepts are in what Grinnell does. The problem with dribble drive is that the offense tends to go overpassing and over possession in time, and then it's difficult to reach your goal numbers. And so I think sometimes some things that we do with the Grinnell system is allows us to end the offense, allows us to finish some of the each segment. You'll go out, and that it comes back to what you just mentioned about some of your players staying on the floor too long because each possession is now taking too long and they don't view it like we only had the ball once. Well, yeah, your possession took 45 seconds just to get a shot. I think in a lot of ways, once you have an ending to your offense, then all of a sudden the offense has to fit within a condensed time frame, and that allows you to get quicker shots, allows you to go someplace. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of dribble drive, and that's just me. But at the same token, I look at it like Coach A put together a blueprint, and that a lot of us think we have a better way to do it. It seemed to work for them, and it seems to work very well for what they're trying to accomplish, and so I try to follow the blueprint myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Enough said. You mentioned, playing quickly and getting quick shots. So would you say that the system, they're just playing fast? We're just playing fast?
Well, there's an element to it that we are playing faster, but I think the entire intent of what you're trying to do comes down to shot creation and creating a better shot from your better shooters within your possessions. It is not just a free-for-all. You don't come down and the first person that catches just lights it up. A lot of people think that's the case.
That's
it is
what they
not.
see.
That's right. That's all they see. And I think from a standpoint of what we're trying to accomplish, we're trying to find specific people. We'd like the ball in our shooters' hands as much as possible, whether that's off the dribble, whether that's off the penetration, whether that's off our swing. We need the basketball to go to the proper people to distribute in best decision makers. I think with guys, it's easier to come up with a pecking order than it is with girls. Girls tend to fight that a little bit, but they still understand who the better decision makers are. And so we have kind of reframed our concept of saying we're trying to find our primary shooter to our primary decision maker, and now the ball then gets to the right shooters. We do want to play within 12 seconds. So that is a factor. And with girls, just traversing the floor is not as easy as with guys. It takes 2 more dribbles, it takes more space, but we can get a better spacing because we're not taking up as much space. And so we can get good looks based on it.
And currently, I would add, in Michigan, we still do not have a shot clock. It was incorporated last year, tested out at some places. I actually voted on it this month that, yes, I definitely want a shot clock for 2026, 2027, but I feel like they've been doing that every year. So we'll see what happens, but it would help, at least I would say in high school, because I think there's a lot of teams that...
I've heard from a lot of teams that have scouted against us or, put practice plans together that we just put 7 people out there to recreate the press, and we just shoot every 3 we can. And that's kind of a misnomer. That's not what we do. It's
cute.
I mean, it might work against us, but it certainly is not what we do. But that's how they view it.
So then if that's what teams are practicing, then I guess in the last point that we do have is, that it's not just about individual pieces within the system, right?
Well, absolutely. First of all, you're concerned about your offensive sets. You're concerned about your offensive rebounding. You're concerned about subbing. You're concerned about the shots you take, and all of the things together. If you just take them individually, then all you're doing is you're becoming a pressing team, or you're a really good offensive rebounding team because we're sending. But those all go hand in hand. The offensive rebounding plays into why you're pressing or how you're pressing. The subbing matters based on pace of game and what we're trying to create. The subbing is one of those things that parents, in your case, they struggle mightily with the subbing. They just can't fathom why you would take little Susie out, but second of all, why is that kid playing?
And I will add, I have heard it. Obviously, we coach there together, but I have heard at your level as well that the parents don't understand, even though the kid is telling them that they are tired.
The higher level people that understand basketball tend to be very complimentary of that because they come up and they understand why you're doing it. And you'll have those moments where they like to play a kid for 5 minutes and we've subbed 5 times. And so all of a sudden the kid will look up and go, "Oh my Lord, you're back?" And she's fresh and bouncing around and ready to go, and their kid's toast. And it's just...
Well, I think the best comment was after one of my scrimmages, I knew one of the opposing players, and I asked her, what did you think playing against it? And she said, "I felt like I was in a track meet." She's like, "I stopped running across," because her coach obviously wasn't taking her out. She's their main player. So
as long as you can make people try to rest to get what you're doing, it's advantage. They have to defend you all the time, and they have to sub. We've seen a lot of different ways people sub against us trying to counteract what we're doing, but that's not what they do on a daily basis. So again, advantage you.
Right.
But just to finalize, you're talking about if you take all the pieces and put them all together, that's when the system takes off, because they complement each other there. There are times that you will just give up 120 points, and then as you look back as to what you're doing on film, it's because we didn't do this, or we didn't go to the offensive board, we didn't press, we're hanging our head because we missed a shot, and we're not a little more aggressive than we need to be. We didn't rebound the basketball very well, gave up second shots. All based on, really, when it comes down to, those kids not stepping into the next facet of the game and playing all the individual pieces at the same time.
No, that definitely makes sense. And to move on into our next section, because I don't know if circling back to administrators, parents, all of that, would you say, are there other barriers to running the system? Because I think that's the biggest thing that people hesitate to do this, because...
I think the biggest barrier within your own team is success. If you have little moments of success, if you have moments of when they're working hard and doing things and they have that little tinge of success, then all starts to build. A group comes on the floor and does something well, then all of a sudden they back it up with another group and it just starts to build. Then you're going to have those moments where everything takes off. So barriers within your team is watching them succeed at what they're doing. If they have success, they're excited about it, they go someplace. The barriers outside your team are hard because they're hard to shut down at your level, especially. I don't send my kids home every day, and they have to defend themselves when they get in the car. That's a problem. Or they get to the kitchen table and people are asking questions. If they're really invested in what they're doing, they'll explain it and then tell mom and dad, this is what we do, I love it. Yeah, and that takes care of a lot of it.
The biggest feedback, I actually asked my girls today after practice, and I asked them, have your parents said anything? And so far, everyone has been saying that it's very entertaining to watch. That is what at least 3 or 4 of the girls had said.
Hey, you get beat by 50, it's still entertaining. I think just a matter of if the commitment from your own players is that core has to be there. If when you start getting doubt within your players, it's because they're not working as hard as they need to. They don't see the success. They don't see the reason. And you sometimes have to kind of configure a little bit. We're not offensive rebounding well. We're not getting second shots on our offensive rebounds. We're not into our press because we missed a shot. Then there's things that just take to the next, which we're going to talk about much later, I'm sure, is controlling your possession, where you come down the floor and we're not shooting threes when we're tired, we're shooting twos, how to get off the floor, those type of things, where all of a sudden them understanding the system to their advantage.
And I will say there was a moment, now that I'm thinking back based on one of your comments, within one of our last scrimmages, there was a moment the other coach called a timeout and we were down, I think, 7 or 8 points. And there was a moment of like, okay, because I could see our energy was dying. And I had to tell them, like, guys, it's only 7 or 8 points. Like, we can make that up in a moment. Because I could tell that, I could see it in their faces that they were concerned. Because it's like, okay, it's not working. We're getting scored on. I could feel that from them, and it of course creeped into my mind as well, if I'm being honest. Like,
absolutely,
I'm like, man, am I doing the right thing? It does creep in, even.
Well, I think when you have an assistant coach, that's the biggest thing they can do to help you, is to constantly tell you this is the right thing to do, and we need to sub.
Yeah.
But that assistant coach, if they have doubts, then they go behind your back and they just create problems. They have to be invested with you. They may not even understand why or what you're doing, but they have to be with you and pushing you all the time to keep you from going off the ledge, because there's moments. I do think that as you're talking about that, all it takes is that one shift where all of a sudden you run a 9-0 run and all of a sudden everything just takes off and they look up and they're up 2 and they're like, wow, we did that. Right there. And the next group that comes in can't wait to match it or beat it.
Yeah.
You only scored 6, watch this, hold my beer. We're going to go and do something bigger and better because of that, and that just starts to take off. And that's those barriers, the doubt always creeps in, always.
And I will say that is something, speaking of other players and potentially coaches, one of the things that we would love to do on our next episode is actually bring in either a player from Oakland Community College or from Birmingham Groves, or both of them, and just to get some player feedback, especially when it's early in the season, whether we bring in a veteran or not. I think that would be very interesting to hear from them.
It would be interesting to listen to them before they start, and then maybe again about 2/3 of the way through the season, as to maybe this wasn't exactly what I thought, or maybe this is better than I thought, or because I know with one of mine, she's totally invested in what we're doing. And I think she would be a great interview at this point in her second year of running the system as to what she thought it was and where she's going. But then get that preview, because you haven't started playing games yet.
Nope.
And so before they ever hit the floor, I'd like to talk to that kid.
No, definitely.
I don't even know what kid you're going to talk to, but I'd like to find out what they. But just her view of what she thinks it's going to be after practices, and then did it turn out to be what you thought it was?
Yeah. So that's what we need from you guys. Our comments were a little low last time. We had a couple in there, but that's what we need to hear from you guys. Comment what you would like to hear from the player. If you're a coach that is planning to run this, ask the players some questions. We will get those questions answered, whatever you ask. Parents, you guys are following along, anything. Don't be shy. So.
You're going to take a drink of water?
Oh, right. I'm very, very parched with my new.
We got our new merch right on the way here, so we thought we'd have to show that off.
Yes, definitely. We will have those up eventually on a store to support us. Of course, we're giving our time to talk about this, our lovely day off, well, your day off. But so on that note, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow 3over2 Hoops for more. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. This episode will be on YouTube as well. If you're just listening along in the car, please feel free to do that too. So follow us, and don't forget to like and subscribe.